welcome to the podcast Creating That Life CTL. CTL is a safe space for teenagers, young adults, and anyone who desires to grow, be recognized, and fulfill their God given purpose. In CTL, we help you find, discover, and maximize your God-given purpose. All right, we've been on the series Parents Are Not Always Right, and the last episode was a bomb. We had teenagers come on to speak about how they would prefer their parents to better handle them, talk to them, and help them grow in their various area of endeavor. And we are still exploring a series of Parents Are Not Always Right. So on today's episode, I'll be tackling a very sensitive but incredibly important aspect of how parents impact their children based on their own unresolved issues, their histories, and other things that happened in their life that they have carried over to their parenting style. But first, before I go on, I need every one of us to know that none of us came out unscarred while we were growing up. A lot of us went through traumas, anxiety, and all that has become a pattern in our life, and that has become a part of us in our day-to-day living. And most times we tend to get all these unresolved issues into the way we interact with our children, into the way we parent our children. And this can manifest in different ways, from the advice we give to them, from the expectations we set for these children, and up to the kind of emotional environment we create for our children to dwell in. For instance, think about a parent that had financial hardship while he or she was growing up. Such a parent will want to teach the child about money, make the child be very careful about money, and these most times don't completely help the child. Because of the pressure you put on the child can even end up making the same mistakes you're trying to prevent the child from making. But do we now keep quiet and not talk to our children? No, that is not what I am saying, because most of these things are not conscious acts. It's just instinct from us trying to prevent our children from making the same mistakes that we made. But most times, I've been with teenagers for over 10 years now. I practically live with them. Some of them have become my children, though not biological children, adopted children, and I have seen and heard what they go through emotionally. For instance, there's one that I spoke with recently. I'm going to call her Precious. Her name is not Precious. She said her mom is her mom constantly criticizing her about her appearance. And why so I started asking, why is her mom like that? No, this has gotten so bad that this girl is beginning to develop low self-esteem. The way she sees, she doesn't even like or love her body. Now, this criticism is not coming from outside, it's coming from her own biological mother. So from talking and asking, I found out that the mom had a very bad experience while growing up. She was overweight. Then now she's very, she's looking trim and proper and all that. Then she was overweight, and she was traumatized because of her weight, by her peers and all that, and she does not want the same thing to happen to her child. So unconsciously, she's always on her, telling her, no, you're going to go fat. Please, this girl is not even fat yet. You're going to go fat. People are going to do this. They're not going to be able to marry. They're not be able to do that. All that in the mind of that teenager, and this has affected, really affected her life, because her mom has practically passed to her a lot of negative messages that has now affected her self-perception and her self-esteem. One thing I need us to know, that it's important to approach this issue with parenting with empathy, because I don't think any parent any parent wanted to go through the trauma they went through. Nobody planned it and the others. So we are going to just approach it from a point of empathy to all our parents, because we are all a product of our experiences, and these experiences have been engraved in us, and we are not out there to make you, dear children, we are not out there to frustrate you. It's not a deliberate act. This act is an act out of love. So the question now is, how can a child navigate these situations, especially when they recognize that their parents' perspective might color their own the parent's perspective might color their own unresolved issue. So for instance, the parent is telling you what to do based on the unresolved issues, like this precious one that I talked about, that her mom was overweight, and that fear has become a part of her. How should a child handle such situation? Okay, so for the child, I need you to understand something, that your parents are not out to get you. Your parents are not out to get you. Your parents are doing whatever they're doing out of love for you, and they don't want you to fall into the same pattern they fell into, and end up, for some who could not get out of it, end up the way they ended up. So as a child, when your understanding of right or wrong, do you understand, differ from your parents' own, this can be a very challenging times. Had teenagers come to me that I want to study this, but my parents are telling me to do this and all that. So how do you handle such situations? Because the truth is that such situations can be very, very painful for a child, especially when your parents are telling you, keep quiet, I've been on this earth longer than you have, and you must listen to me. So these situations can lead to conflicts and the feeling of, for the child, like they are not loved. Remember, your parents love you and they are not out to get you. So first, I need you to understand that your parents love you. They are not out to get you. Do you understand? They want the best for you, and they are just acting based on what they know. Okay, so two, I need you to learn to express yourself respectfully. Now, if there is an argument currently on ground, be quiet, because you are the child. You are meant to respect your parents. So be quiet, let them talk. When you see that things are calmer, you can come up and talk to either of them, or one of them, probably the one you feel is calmer, and respectfully, remember, I'm stressing it, respectfully, air your view, but understand that your parents are just concerned about you. Respectfully air your view and find ways to communicate your values to them. Communicate whatever it is you want for yourself to them, and don't forget, make sure you acknowledge your parents' feeling. Always start up with, mom, dad, I know you love me, I know you're looking out for me, but I think this is what is best for me, and all that. And one other thing I needed to understand, that whatever decision you make, remember, I tell this to my teenagers, remember, whatever the outcome is, be ready to take responsibility for it. That is one thing about trying to get what you want across to your parents. When they now decide to agree to you, when push comes to shove and things don't work out, or they work out, especially when things don't work out, be ready to take responsibility for it and move on with your life. Pay the price to move on with your life. Okay, now that's for the children. Now for the parents, we need to learn to understand that, and I think we need to first of all do a self-reflection. We should be willing to own up to the past. Let's just reflect on the past and own up to the past, that okay, we made this mistake. I wanted to be a pharmacist, but I could not become a pharmacist because I did not get the cutoff mark. So I ended up in something else. Do you understand? Now you are not now going to make that child by fire to now become a medical doctor. Have you checked his or her strength? Have you checked his or her weaknesses? Do you even know whether they are passionate about what you want them to do? Now, There are children that are very obedient. They will do as you want. They, whatever you want, they will go there and do the medical stuff you want them to do, be a medical doctor, but they will never be happy. And in the long run, they will blame you for whatever it is that has happened to them. So also, I need us to know that parents, we need to keep learning. We need to keep learning. It's not just, parenting is not just giving birth to a child and shout, do this, sit down there, and all that. Parenting is a lot, and there are a lot of books out there. There are a lot of seminars, a lot of programs where you can attend. Do you understand? And learn more. I currently was in a webinar, I think 3 days webinar, that talked about ADHD, attention deficient hyperactive disorder, children that just can't sit down in one place. If you're not careful, I have a lot of them at the free school. If you're not careful, you're just going to keep shout. I learned a lot in that webinar, in that seminar. You understand? You just be shouting and shouting. You don't know that that child doesn't even have control over what he or she is doing. So I advise that we keep learning. Let's look for, look for books, look for trainings you can attend. There are a lot of books on parenting that you can just go online, go to Google, There are even courses, go to Coursera, just Google it, something on parenting, and we can better lead these children. All right, it's still the podcast, Creating That Life CTL. I can't remember introducing myself, of course. My name is Angie, and I am the host for this podcast. So, from me to you, especially to parents, I need you to understand that these children, they are growing and they are maturing. Now, that little boy, dear mommies, that cuddles you, hugs you, that lie down with you in the bed, is not a teenager. Now 15, 16, 17, 18, and might not want that anymore. If you keep looking at that child the way he was when he was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you want to still approach that teenager that same way, you will have issues. He's going to build a wall between both of you, and you might not be able to go through. And the funny part is that he might be talking to someone out there. So let's first of all agree that these children are growing, and we need to respect them and respect their boundaries. We need to what? Respect them and respect their boundaries. Instead of just saying, do this, why don't you just say, okay, this is what is on ground. What do you think? I am learning also. I currently did something in the house where I stay with my teenagers, and I was a bit low on cash, and the food we had in the house, I needed a way to get to them to understand that we need to manage. So what I did is that I brought out a list of everything I've spent money on, and I showed it to them. And this is what I spent money on. I showed them my account balance, and I said, okay, whatever we have in the house, we have to learn to manage for the next few months, and before I can get more money. And they understood perfectly, better than when I would shout at them, who did this, who did that, and all that. So like I said, I'm learning. We need to deliberately learn how to better raise these children. One more thing is that there will always be arguments. There will always be lots of heated debates and disagreement between parents and children. Sometimes we need to allow it. But what I always tell parents in children is that never ever disrespect your parents, so that they can, I say allow, so that they can voice out what is in them, and together we can have a better and a loving family. From experience, what works is open and honest communications between children and their parents. This is very, very key. Open, let them know what's going on in your life, let them know what's happening in the house, financial. If you have a bad day at work, let them know, so that they will better know how to approach you. We need to learn to listen to them more. We need to learn to listen. Some of us need to go and learn listening skills. We just talk. Sometimes as a parent, one of the things I learned in this 3 days webinar on parenting is that sometimes just stop talking. Stop talking and let them think for themselves. Let them do the critical thinking by themselves. If you're always thinking for them, at one day they will just go boom, and they want to fight back. Okay, so let's be sure we have respectful dialogue whenever disagreements arise. So to parents and children, I need you to recognize that um, love and respect can coexist with different opinions. We all have different opinions, but in that different opinions that we have, we can still love ourselves and we can respect ourselves. I know the book of Ephesians says, children, obey your parents. If you read down, there's a place that says, parents, do not provoke your children. Okay, so especially when they start coming up as young adults, as teenagers, let's respect the children so we can have a very, very happy home. We can foster long-lasting relationship and build a mutual respect and understanding. Okay, I've come to the end of today's episode of the podcast CTL. The series we'll be running is on parents are not always right, and today I've talked about how parents can use their unresolved issues and biases and not too good histories and bring them over to the way they parent their own children, forgetting that times are changing. These children have grown to teenagers and young adults and are beginning to have a mind of their own and an opinion of their own. And I trust God that God will help us better raise these children the way He wants us to raise them. Until next episode, keep living a purpose-driven life. Keep allow your children to think for themselves so they can become better and better human beings. Until next episode, my name is Angie and the podcast is CTL. Bye bye for now.